as Governor Kathy Hochul lifts the mask mandates in schools. Our breaking news anchor Riley Garand has more on the story.
And tensions rising as Russian forces make their way into the second largest city in Ukraine. This as officials from Russia and Ukraine plan to meet at the Belarusian border.
And President Biden names his pick for the next Supreme Court justice. All that and more tonight on Newswatch. Good evening and welcome to Newswatch. I'm Melissa Spady.
And I'm Erica Liberati. We start tonight with breaking news regarding mask wearing in New York State. Governor Kathy Hochul just announced that the statewide mask mandate in New York schools will be lifted this Wednesday. Our breaking news analyst Riley Garand is live in studio with more. Riley?
Yeah, that's right, Erica. The governor made the announcement just a few hours ago, citing in part multiple factors such as a downward trend in positive cases and new CDC guidelines that drop strong mask recommendations for most of the country. Hochul said in part today that pediatric cases are at the lowest they have been since July last year. Now, this mandate will also be lifted at child care facilities, but will still remain in effect at healthcare and nursing home settings, as well as correctional facilities. Now, circling back to the CDC's updated mask measures, they announced that up to 70% of Americans no longer need to wear their masks. The CDC made this decision after they came up with a new strategy to determine low and high transmission rates across the country. Counties no longer need to study the number of new positive cases they get in a day, but will now need to look at new COVID-related hospitalizations over the past week, the number of hospital beds occupied by COVID patients, and new COVID cases per 100,000 people in their communities. Now, the CDC did endorse universal mask wearing in schools. However, they have now changed this to only schools that are in high transmission areas. So far, those watching us in Tompkins County, the mask mandate will remain in effect even with the CDC's new strategy. The Tompkins County's health department announced that it's still urging all of its residents to wear masks indoors and while around other people, especially those who are ill or immunocompromised. Local businesses are also being asked to have their customers wear masks while in their facilities. Free KN95 masks are still available around the county, and locations to where these offerings are can be found on the county's health department website. Alyssa, back to you at the desk.
All right, thank you, Riley. Now turning to Russia's ongoing invasion into Ukraine. Earlier this morning, Ukrainian and Russian officials agreed to meet at the Belarusian border tomorrow for peace talks. Belarus's President Alexander Lukashenko called Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky and told him all Belarusian forces will remain grounded during this meeting. This comes after Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered the Russian nuclear forces to remain on high alert. Putin made this decision after he deemed there was, quote, aggressive responses from NATO allies. More than 130 Ukrainians have died so far from Russia's invasion. Russia's forces, however, are still on the move in the country, with Russian troops now moving into Kyiv and Kharkiv, the two biggest cities in Ukraine. And throughout the weekend, many of New York's landmarks, such as the Empire State Building and the World Trade Center, will be illuminated in blue and yellow, representing the Ukrainian flag. New York has the largest Ukrainian population in the United States, home to over 150,000 Ukrainians, and aims to show their support. In addition, New Yorkers have been holding anti-war protests as the Russian invasion of Ukraine continues. A protest was held yesterday in Times Square, urging the fighting to stop and for the U.S. to send more support to the people suffering. Governor Hochul is also striking down against Russia after signing an executive order preventing the state from doing business or investive work with any Russian entities. She spoke on this move earlier today.
Are we in any way supporting the government of Putin and Russia, who are now attacking democracy in Ukraine? So we are no longer going to allow New York State business to be transacted with Russian entities. This is a testament again to our strength, but also I'm going to be signing an executive order.
And turning back to COVID news, where a Siena College poll released last week revealed that a majority of New Yorkers want masks in schools. 58% of registered voters said they want a much slower approach to mask removal in classrooms, saying to perhaps wait until early next month to reevaluate the situation. Exactly 64% of people without kids stated they would rather keep the mask mandate until new data is considered in a few weeks. Hochul said the decision would ultimately lie with individual school districts and counties on whether to keep masks on in the classroom. And the TCAT bus system is struggling with labor shortages, causing administrative staff and current bus drivers to pick up the slack. TCAT had 80 drivers in 2019. Now, 3 years later, they're operating with only 66. TCAT cites the 13-hour workdays as a reason for the drop in employment over time. The company is exploring the addition of more part-time positions and flexible schedules to alleviate the pressure on current employees and solve the issue.
The employees at Suicide Prevention and Crisis Services in Ithaca have formed a union. The consequences of COVID-19 have left their workplace short-staffed and workers burnt out. Feeling underappreciated, by management led them to form their own union, which about 70% of employees wanted. The workers had a huge win when their management agreed to voluntarily recognize the union, meaning they won't fight their staff or hold an election to stall the process. According to the Tompkins County Workers Center, negotiations will take place in the upcoming weeks.
Local and state officials are denouncing the use of sticker stores to sell cannabis. The so-called sticker stores are disguising sales of marijuana by selling stickers and then gifting the marijuana. This is a perceived loophole created in regards to New York State's cannabis legislation. Acting Ithaca Mayor Laura Lewis and City Attorney Ari Levine published a joint statement saying that sticker stores are not a gray area, but are simply illegal. There is one sticker store in Ithaca, Good Vibes Exotics, located downtown, that has declared itself publicly. The consequences of owning a sticker store in the county are unclear at this time. And this past Wednesday, New York State police officers and Tompkins County Sheriff's deputies responded to a burglary report early in the evening at a Cayuga power plant. Information was given to the responding officers by Tompkins County's dispatch center, stating 2 individuals were seen via live feed cameras on the premises. The 2 individuals were apprehended and identified as 35-year-old Marvin A. Spivey Jr. and 31-year-old John J. Lantry, both from Binghamton. Both of them were held in Tompkins County Jail, with Spivey being released and Lantry still being held for a parole warrant.
Republican Brandon Williams is running for the first time as a candidate for the 22nd Congressional District of New York in the House of Representatives. Williams, who is from Senate New York, cited his anger at Democratic leaders and their policies around law enforcement as a major reason for his running. He also plans to fight for the working class in Central New York and free public schools of what he calls left-wing indoctrination. Williams seems to be gaining traction and received an endorsement from the Conservative Party Candidates Committee earlier this week. He is the third Republican to announce their candidacy, with Tompkins County legislator Mike Siegler tossing his hat in the race last Thursday, as well as Timothy Coe from Onondaga County. And a collaborative art gallery in downtown Ithaca is wrapping up its latest exhibit tonight. Newswatch reporter Jordan Broking has more on the story.
The fact that the canvas picked up all of the texture is amazing.
This is Nancy Rydnor, one of the 11 artists featured here at the State of the Art Gallery's February exhibit, Awakenings.
We came up with Awakening because it's sort of close to spring, and it reminded us that a lot of things are reawakening.
The artists in the gallery took their own approaches to this theme, with some painting spring scenes and others going in the romantic direction. For Jay Hart, his work surrounds topography and manipulating how areas around the world appear visually rather than physically.
I feel that geography is a really good frame on which to understand things. If you can look at that piece and say, oh, that's what Western Australia looks like, then you can fill up a great big empty place on the map for yourself and not think of Australia as just a whole lot of nothingness.
Rydnor, however, went back in time to when she lived in Asia and chose pieces of works that showcased her time over there.
To me, it was very reflective to select these pieces, to take pictures of them, to think about how I made them way back then. And so it was very nice experience.
Rydnor has been an artist at the gallery for the past 3 years. She said it's important to have this space, not just for people to view the exhibit, but to also allow local artists to present their work.
All through the year, there's opportunities to show our work in small groups or whatever.
Now with the pandemic still ongoing, and typical Ithaca winters making it difficult to actually travel to the gallery itself, the workers over there have come up with a digital approach to solve the issue.
We thought, how can we keep out there? Because not many people were coming in when it was COVID. So the person who does the website also suggested the online show.
Each exhibit at the gallery is now showcased both in person and online simultaneously, allowing it to be viewed on computer screens or right on your phone. This has allowed people from across the country and even internationally to view the artwork and possibly have their own art featured on the website.
We learned a lot through COVID, and I think we took the best advantage of it.
The Awakenings exhibit is set to end this Sunday evening, with a brand new exhibit opening next week.
Thanks, Jordan, for the story. Earlier today, some snow squalls moved throughout the area, and temperatures are going to be dropping tonight. Mark Scaglione is timing it all out for us with the latest in weather. Mark?
Yeah, Erica, currently outside right now, 26 degrees, pretty mild, but earlier today we did have those pretty intense snow squalls that moved throughout the area. We're timing out more snow in your full forecast in just a few minutes.
Thanks, Mark. The Ithaca Festival will return to the Commons this year for the first time since 2019. The festival is a celebration of the Ithaca community, and it's set to start on June 2nd in downtown Ithaca. There will be a competition for 2 artists to display their work at the festival, representing the theme of Together Again. The festival announcement did not include plans on precautions against COVID-19. However, the low COVID cases in Hopkins County should allow the festival to take place. For more information or to apply to have your artwork featured, go to ithacafestival.org.
And coming up after the break, more updates surrounding Russia and Ukraine and who President Biden picked to serve as the next Supreme Court justice. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Newswatch. Kyiv, Ukraine continues to be under attack as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky leads the efforts in the fight against Russian troops. Yesterday, the U.S. government offered to help Zelensky's efforts by evacuating the city, but Zelensky refused, saying, quote, "The fight is here. I need ammunition, not a ride." Ukrainian parliament members said they plan to remain in the city to defend against future attacks by Russia. Ukraine remains confident, and many plan to stay in the city to continue the fight. Zelensky also shared a message on social media to the people of Ukraine. Let's take a listen.
Good morning, Ukrainians. Currently, there are a lot of games appearing on the internet, like that I'm asking our army to put down arms and evacuate. So I am here. We are not putting down arms. We will be defending our country because our weapon is truth. And our truth is that this is our land, our country, our children, and we will defend all of this. That is it. That is all I wanted to tell you. Glory to Ukraine.
NATO activated its response force for the first time as a result of the ongoing invasion in Ukraine. The decision regarding this move was made Friday morning during a call with NATO allies and leaders. This force consists of air, land, sea, and special forces teams from NATO allies that can quickly deploy them. However, this does not mean that the United States or NATO will actually ever enter Ukraine. NATO's Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said, quote, "We must stand ready to do more, even if it means we have to pay the price, because we are in this for the long haul." The entire response force consists of 40,000 troops, but no word has been made on how many will be activated as a result. And more on Russia, Meta and YouTube are also introducing their own financial sanctions against Russia. Meta announced that it would ban Russia's state government from running ads and monetizing off any of Meta's platforms. The company will also put labels on additional Russian state media posts. As a response, the Russian government retaliated and partially restricted Facebook's access into the country. YouTube also made a similar move with Meta and said they would temporarily halt a number of Russian channels from monetizing on the platform. Additionally, recommendations to these channels will also be limited.
And this past Friday, President Joe Biden formally nominated federal judge Ketanji Brown Jackson to the Supreme Court. Biden had vowed to pick a black woman to succeed liberal Justice Stephen Breyer, making this promise years ago when he was still a presidential candidate. Biden has said that it's time the government courts reflect America's demographics. Brown Jackson currently serves as a federal judge on the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Washington, D.C., and said this during the announcement on Friday.
And if I am fortunate enough to be confirmed as the next Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States, I can only hope that my life and career, my love of this country and the Constitution, and my commitment to upholding the rule of law and the sacred principles upon which this great nation was founded will inspire future generations of Americans.
And now we have Rocco DiMarillo here with a look at what's coming up later in sports. Rocco?
The Ithaca women's basketball team come from behind for a three-peat. Cornell hockey upsets the #1 team in the ECAC, and the Blue Shirts of Broadway are back at it at Madison Square Garden tonight. All that and much more on Newswatch Sports. Guys, back to you.
Thanks, Rocco. Looking forward to sports news later. A SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket launched from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California on Friday, bringing an additional 50 Starlink satellites into orbit. The satellites have thrusters that will aid them in moving it to their own personal orbits over the next few weeks. Starlink Internet Constellation is a space-based system created by SpaceX that helps to deliver internet access to places in need. There are about 2,000 Starlink satellites in orbit currently. Elon Musk, who owns SpaceX, also announced yesterday that the satellite's internet service is available in Ukraine after Ukraine's Vice Prime Minister made the request yesterday.
And a priest in Arizona who invalidly baptized numerous people is working to rebaptize them correctly. Reverend Andres Arango made headlines when it was revealed he flubbed the baptism blessings of thousands of Catholics across the country. 12 of these people met with Arango again this past Thursday at a Phoenix Catholic church where he poured holy water over their hands as a do-over baptism, where he correctly recited the blessing. Previously, Arango said, quote, "We baptize you." However, the Vatican ruled in 2020 that the blessing must be said as, quote, "I baptize you," to represent Jesus Christ. Parishioners affected by this flub said they do not hold any grudges against Arango and they still do respect him. Arango will continue to help the parishioners he previously baptized.
And coming up after the break, Mark Scaglione is in studio with us for your exclusive weather forecast. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Newswatch. We had some snow squalls moving in throughout the area earlier, but do we have snow showers coming up later in the week? Mark Scaglione has that answer and more in his full weather forecast. Mark?
Yeah, Erica, it was a pretty interesting day. We had a high today of 35 degrees, but like you said, we did have those snow squalls come through. So this morning was very mild, cloudy skies, but then throughout our region, all through the Finger Lakes and central New York, those snow squalls came through, kind of bringing zero visibility in some areas, so it was pretty intense. Then as we look at our radar here, you can see these giant bands coming through at Ithaca there. You can see right here, Ithaca here, up by Cortland, getting those bands coming through the mid part of the afternoon. And then as we look into right now outside, the temperatures right now are 26 degrees, so pretty mild, but there are still some light snow squalls moving through, scattered throughout the region, a little bit over Ithaca. But it will be a cold night as we do have a cold front moving through. And then as we go into our snowfall totals, you can see Ithaca there on the edge of the 1 to 2 inches, Binghamton in the Twin Tiers all the way at just about a coating to an inch. And then areas like Auburn up by Syracuse, north and east, got upwards of 3 inches. So those snow squalls did do some damage in some places. And then also going into tonight, we are going to have a wind chill effect with this cold Arctic blast. So tomorrow morning, the commute will be very windy and cold. You can see Ithaca sitting at 0 degrees, Cortland -5, Binghamton only at -1, but you can see there Hamilton, north and east, all the way at -11 degrees. So it will be very cold going into tomorrow. And then as we look at our high for tomorrow, 22 degrees, so still very cold, but it will be a nice day. Chilly start, a north-northwest wind at 8 miles an hour, but sunny overall with some clouds peeking through. So it should be a pretty nice day. And then as we get into tomorrow night, it will get even colder with mostly cloudy skies. So that cloud coverage will move in throughout the night, but temperatures will rise later in the evening in the overnight hours. And then going to our 7-day forecast, you can see there Tuesday, that's what I'm talking about, where temperatures begin to rise, 42 degrees, but we will have a chance for snow. And then as we go into the mid part of the week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, temperatures decreasing and a chance of snow on Thursday. And then as we get to the weekend, Saturday, 42 degrees and cloudy, and Sunday will be 51, so temperatures will warm up. But in the morning, we could see a chance for a snow shower here or there. And back to you guys at the desk.
All right, thanks, Mark. And after the break, we have Rocco DiMarillo here in studio with everything you need to know about the world of sports. Stay with us.
Good evening, everyone. Great to have you with us. I'm Rocco DiMilo, and here's the latest sports news. Here on the South Hill, Newswatch's very own Alyssa Spady and the Ithaca women's basketball team complete the three-peat. They defeated St. Lawrence today by a final score of 70-58 for the program's third straight Liberty League championship. Leading the way, who else would it be? Grace Cannon, 26 points, 5 steals, while Cara Volpe would put up 15 points and recovered 4 rebounds. The Bombers will sit back as they wait to see who they will face and when they will play in the NCAA round of 64. Moving on to the Diamond, Ithaca baseball team kicked off their season down at Virginia Beach, where they went 2-1 on the weekend as they defeated New Paltz on Friday and yesterday, but couldn't keep the undefeated streak going against Virginia Wesleyan. In that 3-game span, Buzz Shirley led the way with 12 at-bats, scoring 6 runs and recording 6 hits. The final scores were 5-4, 13-8, and 8-13, respectively. The Bombers will be back this Saturday for a doubleheader on the road when they take on Old Westbury. Switching things over to the East Hill, the Cornell men's hockey team finished the regular season strong as they defeated Quinnipiac 1-0 on Friday and Princeton 4-0 yesterday. Going up against the Bobcats as the underdogs, it was the Vancouver Canucks prospect Jack Malone who scored the only goal for the Big Red, which was all that was needed to complete the upset against the #1 team in the ECAC. The freshman Ian Shane would make 42 saves for his first shutout of the season. Shane would continue his brilliance 24 hours later when he recorded another shutout, this time making 23 saves. Sullivan Mack, Sebastian Durbin, Liam Motley, and Kyle Penny would each do their part on the offensive side of the ice, scoring goals to put the Big Red on top to complete the weekend sweep. Cornell will now await to see who they will face in the ECAC quarterfinals. And out on the hardwood, the Cornell men's basketball team improved to 14-10 overall in their last regular season home game yesterday after defeating Yale in an Ivy League matchup by a final score of 71-65. Jordan Jones and Guy Ragland Jr. each led the way with 11 points, while Jones recovered 5 rebounds. Dean Knoll would record a season-high 6 steals for the Big Red as well. Cornell will close out the regular season this Saturday when they take on Columbia in Manhattan. And that does it for sports. I'm Rocco DiMilo. Let's send it back to Erica and our Liberty League champ, Alyssa Spady, at the desk.
Thanks, Rocco. Well, if you have a pet at home, you might want to thank them for more than just their love. A new study discovered that pets can actually help boost your brain power.
That's right. The study found that pets can help delay memory loss and improve verbal memory. However, it's not just owning dogs and cats that help people benefit from this, as any pet can help to delay cognitive decline. And, Alyssa, I think it's great. You can own a goldfish, and all of a sudden, your brain functions even better. I think it's amazing.
I have 2 young kittens at home, and I know they keep me on my toes at all times, so I can definitely agree with this study.
I can only imagine. And that does it for us here on Newswatch tonight.
Be sure to tune in this Tuesday at 7:30 to catch us for another Newswatch show. And as always, be sure to follow us on our social medias, Instagram and Twitter at ICTV607.
Thanks for watching, and have a good night.